Hi everyone, morning. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll just wait another 30 seconds, minute, and then we'll get started. Right, I think we should get started. So again, hi everyone, thanks for joining. My name is Angela, a Microsoft Copilot specialist. So I'm here today to give you the pleasure of, I've got the pleasure of delivering a Copilot webinar. All around use cases today. So if you just a heads up, everything is being recorded. So if any of your colleagues couldn't attend for any reason, we will share the recording afterwards as well. And if you have any questions, please drop it in the Q&A and I'll be happy to answer it at the end of this this webinar. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy this session. So this is what the agenda is going to be today. So I'm going to go through a few AI trends, where technology is going, why people should start thinking about adopting Copilot within their organization. Then if anybody's joined my previous webinars, I do usually just do a general art of the possible, how it works within every application. And some of the most important applications, but I've changed it slightly this time, and I'm going to be talking about use cases, like how certain organizations have adopted it and what are most people doing with Copilot at the moment, as opposed to what you can do in every single application. But I can't leave demos out, so I will be showing you a couple of demos of those use cases as well, so I can paint a better picture. And then lastly, I'm going to go through some licensing and promotions that has been dropped. So there's been a few recent updates, which is actually quite exciting. So I'm just going to educate you on all of those updates, and hopefully it will be relevant for you. And then you can reach out to your account manager for further support and queries. But as I said, any questions today, please drop it in the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer it. So right, let's get through an overview first of all. So it took 2 months to reach 100 million users for ChatGPT. And as you can see, it's taking less and less time to adopt technology. So it took 16 years for mobile phones, 7 years for the internet. And obviously we're all using the internet today, and now 2 months for ChatGPT. So the reason why I'm showing you this slide is, again, technology is moving quickly, but also AI is not going away. And we want organizations to really be thinking about it seriously, because if you're not adopting it now, you probably will be left behind, and maybe your competitors will adopt it and you might feel like you're lacking in like operational efficiencies. And even when you do want to adopt AI later down the line, it would have evolved a lot more further. So Copilot has been established for over 2 years now, and moving very, very quickly. So as you can see just from this slide, there's different types of features that has been released over the past 2 years. The first year, when I was talking about Copilot, I never touched Copilot in Excel because there was still needed a lot of work to be done on the Excel side. Whereas last year alone, I think maybe 70% of my time was just in Excel. So it's constantly evolving. And although I will be demonstrating some use cases today, I do want you to think outside of the box as well, because it's not just the be all and end all. It can do so much more. So if you do feel like you need a little bit more, you need a follow-up, then please reach out to your account manager, and they'll be happy to support further. So Copilot is moving quickly. Now, Microsoft likes to call something organizations a frontier firm. And what a frontier firm is basically an organization that is a little bit more forward thinking. So they've adopted AI, which is phase one. So phase one is they've adopted Copilot. They've gained their productivity from the application use, in Teams, Outlook, PowerPoint, etc. The next phase would be human-led agents. So I am going to be diving into a bit of agent delivery today. Now, what agents are is basically having a co-pilot do something very specific for you. So you can have several different co-pilots, but they're actually called agents. Okay. So it might be doing, you might be plugging in policy documents, for example, and you're getting that agent to actually constantly look at just those documents rather than you having to do those admin tasks yourself. Then we move on to phase three, which is human-led agent operated agents, which is basically getting Copilot to do activities or tasks, shall we say, that's automated. So rather than you having to constantly ask it to have a look at policy documents, it might just do it automatically based on a certain requirement. Maybe if an email comes through with an inquiry, it will automatically go into those policy documents and reply back. That's an autonomous agent. So that's the journey of AI. So at the when I'm not sure where you all are at the moment, but let's say you're all quite infant and you're looking to get onto phase one, we would look to see you get to phase three at some point. It might not be in the first year, it might be in year 3 or 4, but that's basically what a frontier firm is, basically advocates of AI, and they're really driving that AI capability internally to help them with their business processes. Fun fact, 85% of people are already using AI at work, and 80% of them bring their own tool to work. So this is important because most likely staff members are using AI that might not be approved by the organization. And that approval, that AI tool that they're using might not be let's say business friendly. So it might be posing risk to the business if they're leaking maybe sensitive information into that tool. So it's also a good thing. This 85% number is very good, because if you're looking to roll out Copilot to staff members, it won't be so much of a behavioral change for them to adopt Copilot, because they already know what they're doing. They already know how to communicate with AI to get the answers that they want. It's just basically using something a bit more secure as opposed to using something that wasn't approved in the first place by the organization. Okay. Employees are interrupted every 2 minutes. I know I'm probably there every day, but that's one of the reasons why I've put myself on Do Not Disturb today. So I'm not pinged on Teams messages, and I have just got, you've just got my attention, and I can just deliver this webinar and obviously answer any questions that come through. But, a lot of the times we have emails coming through, we're delivering something on a presentation, or we might have an in-person meeting, and obviously messages coming through in our Teams meetings, we might be on the go. We're juggling a lot of things, and some of them might just be classed as admin tasks. And how is Copilot going to help us getting rid of those admin tasks? So hopefully these use cases will basically bring it to light. Which brings me to Microsoft 365 Copilot. I will be discussing Copilot Business at the end, so it'll be the same thing, but there's another name that I'll be talking about called Copilot Business, but it is basically the same thing. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant that is integrated within your Microsoft applications. So when you open up your Teams, your Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, all of your Office applications, you have Copilot within those applications. You don't need to go over a browser. You can stay within your emails, and if you need assistance, it is right there. Okay, so you have that seamless experience. Now, before I get into the use cases, just going to show you my favorite slide. I want to break it down as to how it actually works. Okay, so if you focus on the top left hand side, let's say we open up an application. Let's say we open up our Microsoft Word. When you open up your Microsoft Word, at the top you have a ribbon of different features, don't you? Changing the font, adding bullet points, changing the format, but you also have a Copilot button. Click onto it, and that's where you ask questions or commands. This is where you're prompting. So I could prompt and I could say, Copilot, please draft me a business proposal. That prompt is then sent to your Microsoft Graph on the bottom left-hand side. Your Microsoft Graph is all of your files and documents that are stored in SharePoint, OneDrive, your emails, and your Teams messages. So basically, anything that you have access to, Copilot also has access to. Okay, so Copilot does not have access to anything beyond your permission level. So if you never had access to a certain folder, with all of contracts on there, just because you have Copilot now doesn't mean you can then access it. Okay, because it stops at your permission boundary. You can also do your internet searches with Copilot. You can toggle on web browsing and it will go and pull information from over the web rather than you having to open up another window and do your internet searches. Okay, so you can, again, do everything within Copilot. So let's say Copilot within your Microsoft Graph has picked up a couple of PDFs and Word documents. Those documents are then sent to the large language model on the right-hand side. Now, the large language model kind of works in the background. Just consider that as the brain of Copilot. It's basically just trying to reason what you just asked it to do, and what is it going to do with all this information, and how is it going to give that information back to you. So it's a very intelligent tool where it will basically collate all of the information together, so those PDFs and those Word documents, and give you an informed response in its own words back to your application. But it will also citate where it's got its information from, those PDFs, those Word documents. Okay, hopefully you're still with me. So that's how it works in the background. The apps, the graph, large language model, they work simultaneously together. Anything that you input into Copilot, when I say input, I'm saying maybe some documents that you're uploading into Copilot, you're pasting, or even when you're asking questions, all of your prompts or your data is not being trained by Copilot. So Copilot is not trained on any of that. It has enterprise data protection. I always relate it to emails. So when you're sending an email on Outlook, or even when you're retrieving one, it's all encrypted. Microsoft doesn't have eyes on it. Your colleagues doesn't have eyes on it. Same thing with Copilot. When you're asking it questions, when it's bringing information back to you, it's all encrypted. Nobody has eyes on it. It won't be leaked outside of the organization. It has corporate protection. So it's an AI tool secure for work. Okay. Which is why Microsoft has created it. Now, anybody that uses like a free solution like ChatGPT, for example, yes, it will be saved into public data every time you use it. You're basically training that large language model, which could be posing risks to the business depending on what you're asking it. So we recommend, if you're using it for business purposes, you use something like Copilot. Okay, right. So as I said, please ask questions if you do have any. Drop it in the Q&A. Now let's talk about some businesses that have adopted Copilot and how are they doing. Okay, so now we're getting into the use cases basically. So let's talk about, oh, I don't think my animations has worked. There we go. So Three Crowns is a law firm. There are about just under 200 users, employees within the UK, and they are expanding outside of the UK as well. So they've got several different offices. They've adopted Copilot, and obviously a law firm are very like document heavy, so they've actually reaped the benefits of it when it comes to, you know, highlighting clauses in certain agreements to understand how there are any like financial or data risks under those certain agreements. But it's also helped them with linguistic barriers as they are expanding. Same thing with Juice, which is the third one. Juice is a mobile charging station. You may have seen them. They're in like not supermarkets, they're in like malls and airports where you can just basically charge your phones up if you're running out of juice. I guess that's why it's probably called it. Now they have expanded again outside of the UK, so in China, Ghana, etc. And obviously time zones are very different, so they've utilized Copilot to help them with those linguistic barriers and also the time differences. So we can just turn transcription on and people can catch up afterwards with the translation as well. Four is a marketing agency. So they've helped basically kickstart their creativeness and get pushing out content a lot more quickly. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to be showing you today kind of complements this as well. And then lastly, which is the last one, which Black Shuck. Hopefully I've pronounced that properly, but it's basically a distillery company. And what they've done is they've created an agent. So, I mentioned agents at the very beginning. You can create basically your own Copilot to deliver something very specific. So they've basically created their own agent, so their own bot. They've published it onto their website in order to be like a virtual bartender. So if a customer has joined the website and they're not really sure which one's best suited to them, then the bot would give them recommendations based on what their preferences are. Okay, so that's how some of the perks of them adopting Copilot. There is a lot more, but there's a lot of use cases. If you do want to have a look at maybe something very specific to your vertical, your industry, or even your size, UK based, then please have a look at something called Customer Stories online by Microsoft, and you can just change the filters. Just click on Copilot, change the area, the region, etc., and then it will start to show you more companies like this and how they've reaped the benefits of Copilot as well. But I thought I'd share with you some of them before I get into my demos and obviously those use cases to complement that. So these are, I would say, some of the popular ones that organizations, these are the reasons why organizations have adopted Copilot. So communication through Outlook and Teams, Outlook, obviously emails and Teams, and also meetings through Teams meetings. Obviously meetings and communication kind of works together. It's all about collaboration. It's all about making sure you're communicating effectively and efficiently to the following party. So I will paint a better picture as to how is that going to help, because we are really if we're doing like a 9 to 5 job, we are usually stuck on our Outlook and our Teams a lot. So how is Copilot going to help us in the applications that we use the most? Content creation. So I kind of highlighted that through for agency, which is the marketing agency use case that I delivered earlier. How is Copilot going to help with that content creation when it comes to image creations, when it comes to creating blogs, etc. I did mention that Excel, Copilot in Excel really flourished last year. So that's really taken, really got some wheels on some of the organizations now, where they've really driven Copilot within their organization based on data analysis, based on constantly being in Excel and analyzing data, creating reports as well through an agent, which I will show in very shortly. Document comparisons. So this could also complement the first law firm use case that I showed you, how, people might have different versions of documents and what's the differences between them. That's a very, very common use case as to why an organization would want something, because let's face it, we do usually have V1, V2, V3 of very similar documents. And rather than opening up the entire document, how is Copilot going to help us differentiate them? And then just knowledge discovery. So, a lot of our times is just finding a certain document or a certain communication that somebody has passed to us, and we're just trying to get through, find that needle in the haystack. How is Copilot going to retrieve that information a lot more quickly, as opposed to you having to do that manual labor yourself? So those are the use cases that I'm going to be going through today, and then I'll follow up with the licensing and the promotions that is running at the moment. Right, so let's get started with some demos of these use cases. So let's start with communication. So hopefully we all know Copilot can draft you an email. That's great, but it's not really going to sound like you. Now, in order to cut out that time, Copilot can actually sound like you. You can get Copilot to sound like you. So within a settings icon, you can basically say, I prefer to say hi. When I greet people, my tone is highly professional. I like to sign off saying best regards. And when you've seen that, there was no word limit, so I could have added a lot more instructions to Copilot. So when I'm asking Copilot to draft me an email right now around Copilot training, it's following those pre-instructions. So I don't need to be specific in my prompt because it's following the pre-ones. I would say a very common use case out of the pre-instructions box would be, I get these types of questions that come in, and this is exactly how I like to reply back, maybe FAQs. And because there's no word limit, you could actually, in your pre-instructions box, you can say, this is how I respond. So basically paste a template of an email that you usually respond to, and Copilot will fill in the gaps. So we'll fill in obviously the title of it, the subject title, we'll fill in who it's for based on who you've added, and obviously paste the template that you've used. And that obviously cut down a lot of downtime. I use it as well when it comes to my workshop offerings. Sometimes people ask me specifically around agents, what do I deliver within my agents workshop? And rather than me having to type in the same agenda over and over again, I just add it in my pre-instructions and I type in using Copilot agents workshop, and then bam, Copilot just delivers that. So get Copilot to sound like you rather than you having to type the same thing over and over again. Another very, very common use case would be our inbox, how Copilot can organize it, because let's face it, we've all been there when we've got loads of unread emails, we've come back from holiday, or we've just been on a call back to back, and then we've opened up our Outlook and we've got 25 emails that's come through. So how is Copilot going to help us? So I'm going to click onto it. I've got my emails on the left-hand side, and I've clicked onto Copilot on the right hand side. So the emails on the left is all around marketing. So let's just pretend I'm a marketing manager today. And I've asked Copilot to basically separate them in 3 groups based on the 3 requirements that you can see up there, any things that I need to action off. I've also mentioned any kind of sensitive information, not as sensitive information, like sensitive emails that I need to basically, time sensitive emails that I need to reply back to ASAP. And as you can see, it's separated them in the groups that I wanted, but it's also highlighted if it's sensitive or not. So what I need to address ASAP, and it's given me a bit of a summary, but I can open up those emails further if I wanted to digest it further. And at the bottom, it's given me a priority order. But that's because I mentioned it in my prompt. I mentioned, put it into 3 groups, highlight time sensitive messages, and also give me a priority order. So now I feel like I can probably get through my emails a lot more quickly based on having Copilot right by my side saying, okay, let me address this one first. So yeah, Copilot in Outlook definitely helps when it comes to replying back a lot more efficiently, but also getting rid of the noise, basically getting rid of the stuff that you don't really need to, that doesn't need your urgent attention, and the ones that do. Okay, so let's talk about our meetings. So in order for Copilot to work, Copilot works off of transcription. So you will need to have transcription on. Just bear in mind, the meeting has to be set up by yourself or one of your colleagues. So I'm external to you. If I sent an invite and you had Copilot, you wouldn't even be able to turn on transcription because it's an external invite, okay? So bear in mind, if you want Copilot to work, you will need to send the invite yourself, or one of your colleagues will need to send it, an internal invite. Okay, so this is just an example of a transcription. It's all fictitious, all around like kind of updates of, a lot of them will be around Copilot as well. So internal updates, but how are you going to position this back on an email? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up. So based on that transcription, I'm going to upload it. Well, Copilot already has it, but I'm going to find it, and I'm going to get Copilot to basically provide me a follow-up email in a very specific way. So adding subheadings, weave in any like questions and answers that were asked throughout that meeting as well. So it's not just like, this is a follow-up and these are the FAQs. It's more like, we're answering your questions as we go along within this email. And as you can see, it's provided me a follow-up exactly how I wanted. So you can get that, and you can even save your prompts because that prompt was quite thorough. So if I scroll back up, if you hover over, there's a little bookmark. If you click onto that bookmark, You can label it however you like, maybe Teams meetings or something like that. Let's just save it. And it will be saved in something called the prompt gallery. And this is saving time as well. So when you click onto the prompt gallery, click onto your prompts rather than suggested ones, it will be saved there. Obviously, I haven't saved it into anything specific. I just click save. But when you click onto it, it pre-populates into your prompt box. And that's really good because although Copilot is going to help you and be like your helping hand, you can also speed up that process as well. If you've got repetitive prompts, save them. But I'm going to show you something else now. So I'm going to attach a transcript. And I just typed in email follow-up. That's it. I didn't give Copilot a comprehensive overview as to how I want the response to be, but it's given me the key takeaways, it's given me the action items in a table format, which is actually my preference, and it's given me the Q&As. How have I done that? So I haven't saved it because I typed that prompt myself. So how has Copilot followed my instructions in the way that I wanted? So the way that I've done that is through custom instructions, which should have been on this demo, but unfortunately it's not. But basically, it's very similar to your emails. You know how you can get an email to sound like you? You can get Copilot to follow your instructions outside of your emails as well. So if you're in something like Copilot Chat, which is what I'm on, Copilot Chat is just a standalone interface as opposed to an embedded one like through Outlook. You could tell Copilot every time I say email follow-up, I want it in this manner. And that's basically what I said. So although I couldn't share that today, it's basically the same thing as getting an email to sound like you. You get Copilot to follow your instructions through custom instructions on Copilot Chat. Okay, so you don't have to get exhausted with prompting or saving a million prompts in your prompt gallery. Copilot can help you in your meetings, as I mentioned. A lot of our times we have a lot of meetings that are going on, and how is Copilot going to help us before, during, and after the meeting? So hopefully my audio is going to work because I want to show you how Copilot can work to prep for your meeting. Okay, I really hope you could hear the audio. Basically, we were talking to Copilot and Copilot was talking back. So it's not just speech to text, it's speech to speech. And that's a classic example of preparing for a meeting. You don't just have to prepare for a meeting. You can have any conversation with Copilot. A lot of the times I'm on the go and I do use Copilot and I say, you know, are there any important emails that have come through that I need to, you know, reply back as soon as possible, or any messages on Teams chats, etc. And you can interrupt it, as I've hopefully you heard, but you can interrupt it. Once you get your answer, you can move on to the next conversation. So really good to get Copilot to give you that helping hand rather than typing things over and over again. You can speak to Copilot, but that's just one way. If you prefer to type, you can type as well. And then during the meeting, there is something called facilitator. So let's say everybody is in the meeting and they're all discussing, you know, what they're doing around project planning, etc. Within chat, it's going to say facilitator is present. Basically, it's note taking for everyone. It's going to give you some notes on what was discussed, and it's even going to give you some questions that needs to be answered that hasn't been answered yet, and everybody will be able to see this. And even within your notes within that meeting, everybody will be able to see what Copilot is writing in real time. So if somebody disagreed with a certain point, we could delete it in real time and override it. As long as you have your Copilot you have your Copilot button, you can do that. And The reason why I'm showing you Facilitator is I'm sure you probably know that Copilot can give you like a summary at the end of a meeting. If you don't, then it can give you a summary of what happened in your meeting. But it can also be very collaborative as well, where you're aligned during the meeting and after the meeting. So during the meeting, you make sure all your notes are the way that you want it with everybody. It will give you action items. And then when everybody finishes the call, they'll have exactly the same summaries as well. And you don't have to just keep referring back and forth saying that wasn't correct, etc. So Facilitator is basically like an out of the box agent. So when I mentioned you can create your own agent to do something very, very specific, Microsoft has created agents that are out of the box as well. So you don't really need to think about creating it like Facilitator. So that's during the meeting, how Copilot can help. What about after the meeting? So the meeting has ended. Yes, you will get a summary, as I mentioned, of what was mentioned, but you can go a little bit further. So I obviously table preferences are table formats are my preference. So I'm basically just saying highlight the action items and who needs to do what. For example, let's say I couldn't attend this meeting. I just want to know, do I have any follow-ups? And in a second, you'll see on the right-hand side, Copilot is giving me a table with who needs to do what. Okay, and it even gives you citations. So if you even hovered over those citations, it would tell you exactly who said what, how did Copilot come up with that conclusion. Okay, so you can carry on that conversation with Copilot even when a meeting has ended. Okay, so that's how Copilot works, literally on a 360 of meetings, before, during, and after a meeting. So you can say just as productive. Right, let's move on to content creations. So I would say marketing is very popular when it comes to using AI, and how is it going to help them with their job roles? Obviously, there's different types of people that work in marketing, so I'm just going to give you an overview. So let's talk about image creations. There's something called Create within Copilot, and you can create images, you can create videos, you can create infographics, you can create stories, posters, etc. Literally, the possibilities are endless, but you also have pre-built ones, like inspiration, basically. So let's say if I clicked onto one, it will give me the prompt, basically what to use to get that exact infographic in this case. But I've deleted that because I just want the same concept, but I want my own prompt. So mine's all around like a cookie business, how to encourage people to run their own businesses, and just make something a little bit more lighthearted. I have fast forwarded this one because I don't want you staring at a screen. It's basically like watching a cake bake. It takes about a minute or so. So as you can see, it's fast forwarded, but it's recreated me an infographic to my liking with the words that I wanted. And you can further edit it on the right hand side. So I don't really like the background. So I'm just going to say, can you just change it to a pale pink background? You can even add your company branded colors as well. As you can see, branding color. So you can choose your palette and then upload it, and you can use those ones. But as you can see, Copilot has updated my background to pink. And that's something Copilot has literally created me content in a space of a minute. Yes, I fast forwarded it, but it usually takes about a minute. And then you have more time to decide what I'm going to post it onto my LinkedIn, or I'm going to put it onto my website, etc. And you have more time to think about what you want to do as opposed to actually creating it yourself. Okay, so giving you basically time back to focus more on your skill set. So that's image creations. Obviously, you can create images, you can create videos, etc. I'm going to go back into agents because I would say once you understand how to use Copilot within all of your Office applications, you would want Copilot to do a little bit more. So I'm going to again stick to marketing and show you how is that going to work. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to create my own agent. This is very light touch. There is something a little bit more technical heavy, but we're not going to get into that. So basically, I'm asking Copilot for like a thought leadership kind of agent, and I'm telling it a little bit about myself, what's my tone of voice, what the company is, which is all around like bakery. I've got a pet parrot, etc. And then on the left hand side, Copilot is basically having a conversation with me, saying, do you want to, shall we name it Makers Bakers Blog? Can't to say the word blog buddy, and I said yes, and as you can see, it's updated the agent to that name. It's given me like suggested prompts specific to that agent as well. It wanted a little bit more, so I give it like how I want the response to come back like. So basically, I just want some blog inspirations in order for me to push out content a little bit more quickly. It's going to say, do you want to like plug in a URL, etc. But this isn't so much how you can create an agent. It's more to do with like the possibilities afterwards, because obviously we can do a deeper dive, following up. You can change the icon, etc. But then you can start to test it. Hopefully I can forward this. And then I can test it out. And I've basically asked for some blog ideas. It's incorporated my pet parrot. I don't have a pet parrot, but it's basically generating to my liking. So rather than it just giving you general blog content, you've basically said, this is my tone of voice, this is what my preference is, this is what the business is about, and this is what we're trying to push out. So it's going to create stuff that's a little bit more to your liking, so you can push out to your socials, etc. Okay, so I've created a blog agent. But yeah, agents, I would say, is definitely the way forward when it comes to next steps past just productivity gains through Office applications. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is data analysis. So Copilot in Excel has flourished a lot last year. It can do so much. I'm not going to go into everything today because obviously I want to show you as many use cases as I can. But I do want to show you that it's not just for basic usage, people that are more on the basic to moderate side of Excel. It can work for advanced users as well to visualize data. So I've just typed in, create me a dashboard using Python. Now, some of you might not know what Python is. It's not the snake, it's actually coding. So it's advanced coding, but I'm not a coder. I'm not even an Excel expert, but I've asked Copilot to run it through advanced analysis. So I've clicked onto that. It's created me another sheet. If anybody understands Python, by all means, you can reference that on the right-hand side. You can expand on it and look at its workings out, or you can just wait until Copilot runs it itself. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see Copilot create you basically like a mini business intelligence dashboard, obviously within Excel. So if I expand on it, you'll be able to see revenue growth, profit percentage, a correlation between expenses and profit. And these are all images. You can't actually change them. There is a way of you can just create graphs and then you can change the axes, but I specifically asked for a dashboard, which means if you have a master spreadsheet that's constantly being modified by people and you need to keep track, a dashboard might be the way. So I'm updating my quantity sold to 50,000 units. And if we go back into our dashboard in real time, you'll see it updates itself. So you can get Copilot to create your dashboards in seconds using Python without you having to even learn Python. So this has definitely helped advanced people, even people that know Python. It's helped them get there a lot more quickly in order for them to just analyze that data further. And this is fairly new. There's an agent called Copilot for Finance, and Copilot for Finance will basically help you with data reconciliation and variance analysis as well. So I'll just give you a quick demo on this. So I've got my invoices on one tab. I've got payments on another tab. Yours might look a little bit more comprehensive than mine. You might have a lot of tabs. When you click onto Copilot for Finance, which is an out-of-the-box agent, this is everything I'm mentioning is included in one license, by the way. I'm not talking about if you want one thing, you need to get this. Everything is under one license. And you can choose what cells to look at, get Copilot to look at only certain columns, and then get Copilot to generate you a reconciliation report. And I have not fast forwarded this. And as you can see, Copilot has basically highlighted some discrepancies between maybe overpayments, underpayments, any reference differences. And on the right-hand side, it's actually given you a written summary, which you can embed within your Excel as well. So really, really good to start to understand are there any anomalies going on between this reconciliation report and obviously you getting Copilot to generate it for you. Okay, so that's a flavor of what it can do within Copilot for Finance. You can also plug in Copilot for Finance with like an ERP system or Dynamics Finance as well in order for it to pull information from that. But as you can see, I've just added the summary into my spreadsheet. So you can create reconciliation reports. This, as I said, it's just an idea of what Copilot can do within one application. It can do so much more, but it's based on what you're asking it. But there are specific agents that can do specific jobs like this one. I did mention legal, didn't I? So in legal, as I mentioned, they have a lot of like heavy documents that they need to go through. Communication is key as well, and also making sure they're looking through all kind of just like differences, updates, regulations, etc. How is Copilot going to help? So what I've done is I've uploaded 2 versions of a very similar agreement, and I've basically said highlight the differences between version 1 and version 2 agreements in a table format. You can attach up to 20 documents. Well, every application is different, but under this one be under 20, and it will give you it because it's going through multiple documents. It's not going to give you a very quick response in a second, but it's going to give you the right response based on obviously what you're asking it. But as you can see, you can have a look at its reasoning, and at the bottom it's highlighting the differences between them. So it's giving you executive summary, it's giving me a side-by-side view as to what's the differences between each agreement, if things has changed. For example, the minimum purchase agreement has changed as well, and even late payment interest has changed. So you can actually pick out those important changes a lot more quickly rather than you having to do that individually. So compare documents with each other using Copilot. And again, this is in real time. It hasn't been fast forwarded. You can also find your documents. So when it comes to knowledge discovery, there's something called search. And maybe, let's say I'm one of your colleagues and I'm constantly sharing documents and files and PowerPoint slides with you, but you don't know where I've shared it. Maybe I've shared it on a Teams chat, maybe I've shared it on an email, and you don't want to keep going through all these different types of applications. You just go onto search and you literally just type my name in. If you type my name in like this, obviously I've grayed everything out, but you type my name in, and on the right hand side, it will tell you which area do you want to go to. Do you want to go to the calendar? Do you want to go to chats, etc.? And you'll see everything that I've shared with you, vice versa. And on the right hand side, it will tell you the amount as well, the number of documents, etc., or even just communications, Teams meetings, etc. It doesn't have to be a name. It could just be a document that you're trying to find, and just type in the keyword, and imminently it will come up with the suggestions that you have access to. So search is definitely my best friend when it comes to trying to find data. So obviously there's a lot of demos that I've just gone through. So hopefully that's starting to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can do within your organization. But if it hasn't, and if you're still feeling a little bit puzzled, then let's just go back a little bit. Let's think about, where do you see improvements in the business? So would it be to improve the quality of people's work? Maybe you want to get rid of human error in finance and in HR, for example. And then in speed, where are most staff members spending most of their time? Those repetitive tasks. And are those repetitive tasks classed as mundane jobs? Or would you say that they do have higher impact priority jobs, but they don't have time to spend in those areas because they're stuck on those repetitive tasks? And then lastly, effort. Do you want to give employees a better employee experience in terms of maybe retaining them? Maybe you're losing a lot of staff members. It will make a lot more sense if you think about it this way, because if you think about it this way, you'll start to think of ideas, and a lot of those ideas Copilot will be able to support with. So yeah, think about it, your use case. So where do you see improvements, and then how is Copilot going to help you with those improvements? Okay, hopefully you found that all interesting and it's given you some ideas to go away with. We're going to go into licensing and promotions, okay? So I will break it down as much as I can. So the left-hand side is Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat is a free tool. Okay, so as long as you have Microsoft license, you have Copilot chat. It can access things over the web. It can access like a document that you bring it to, so you have to upload the document and then it will be able to look at it. It just won't be able to access your entire graph. It won't be able to create agents and plug in like SharePoint sites, etc. So it has some limited use, but it has some functionality. Okay. And then we go on to Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is the one in the middle. The one in the middle is the one that I've just been going through. So it has everything. So it can integrate within applications. It can access your Microsoft Graph, which is basically your internal data. It can create agents. And Microsoft 365 Copilot is also the same thing as Microsoft 365 Copilot Business. They're exactly the same thing. The functionality is the same. Let me tell you what the slight difference is. So Copilot Business has been released on the 1st of December, and this is aimed for businesses of under 300. So if you're on a license called Business Basic, Business Standard, or Business Premium, you benefit from a cheaper license now. So before you would have to purchase I believe, don't quote me on this, it's about 24 to 26 pounds per user per month, whereas now it's roughly around maybe 16 to 18 pounds per user per month. So you get a lot more discount if you are on a business license. But if you are on a enterprise license like E3, E5, for example, then you'd have to purchase the Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Okay, so really, really important, because now it's more accessible for those on business licenses. And then obviously you can roll it out to more individuals to test it out, pilot it out, etc. Microsoft has also announced something called bundles. So let's say, for example, you are on a Microsoft license. Let's just say you're on Business Premium. If you wanted Copilot today, you would have to add on Copilot. So you would have 2 licenses, which means when it comes to renewal, you might have other licenses, which means you'll have to review every single license, and it's just more of a disparate experience. Whereas now Microsoft is offering a bundle, which means you can have them together as one license. So when it comes to renewal, you can just renew one license. Okay, and that is if you're on a Business Basic, Standard, or Premium license. Okay, so it just makes it a little bit more simplified for you as well, rather than just having 2 separately. Promotions. So left hand side, Copilot Business, that's the new license, exactly the same functionality as what I've showed you today. Okay, it's just a bit cheaper if you're on a business license. The one in the 3 in the middle are the bundles that I just mentioned. You can have your Microsoft license and Copilot together as one. And then the right hand side is more to do with like security awareness and making sure that your estate is governed. That it's basically an add-on license called Purview Suite. So if you want to make sure that there's no risky users within the business, people are not abusing Copilot. There's something called insider risk management. So making sure that people are not downloading large papers and sending it to their personal email, for example. Those kind of solutions are included within something called Business Suite. Now, the reason why I've added that is you would need a Copilot license attached to your Microsoft license in order to make the most out of this promotion. So let me run through the promotions. So Copilot Business, up until the end of March, you can get 15% off. You can purchase one, you can purchase 300. So this is an add-on. You add it on to your license. Okay, you can get 15% off up until the end of March. Now the bundles. If anybody is looking to upgrade from Business Standard or Business Premium to a bundle, then you can make use out of these promotions: 35% off or 25% off. What's really good is, yes, it does end at the end of March, but you can lock in that promotion as well. So if you also need to purchase at least 10. So the 15% off, you can purchase 1 or more, but then the 35 and 25% off, you need to purchase at least 10 to get make the most out of that promotion. Okay, but the good thing is, if you purchase 10 today, for example, and then 6 months later the promotion has ended, it really hasn't for you, because you've locked in that promotion for 1 year. So you can purchase another 10 and you'll get that promotion still. Same thing applies to the 15%. And then the Purview Suite, if you do have Copilot with your license already, you can also add on Purview Suite for 50% off. Okay, that has been extended, I believe, for a few more months, not until the end of March. So you have a little bit longer for that promotion running. All right, so those are all the promotions. I know there's a lot. I've gone through the other kind of the possible use cases. I've gone through different kinds of licensing, but it's good licenses because obviously it's cheaper, it's more accessible, and there are promotions running. So please reach out to your account manager to see what you're what you're eligible for as well, because you could be eligible for up to 35% off, well technically up to 50 if you take into account the data security add-on. So we've got a few minutes left. I don't believe there has been any questions that has been dropped, but I will just double check. No, there's not been any questions. If you do feel like you have any questions, I can stay for a few more minutes and you can add the questions in. But I do hope that you have found this useful. But yeah, feel free to drop in any questions on the Q&A or even the chat as well. My pleasure. Thank you for attending. By all means, if you haven't got any questions, again, thank you so much for attending. I hope you found this useful. We'll follow up, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one. I believe so, James. This is recorded, so we can share the recording afterwards. Thanks, everyone.